If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Granger. Granger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Granger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here, another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you along for the ride. Well, no shortage of LSU football to talk about here on today's show as spring practice has hit its halfway point. LSU and Brian Kelly continue to ride an absolute heater on the recruiting trail for the class of 2026, just bolstering their number one ranked unit so far as we hit the last couple of weeks of March. And of course, BK also, after practice on Saturday, putting to bed any speculation that John Emery would be returning to LSU for his 7th year. So we'll go through all of that. And of course, LSU baseball drops the series over the weekend at Texas in disappointing fashion. Give you a brief thought on that. If you want the full thoughts, obviously, I would direct you to Musso at the Box. Did 30 full minutes on the weekend as a whole on that platform. So I would always encourage, if you're looking for just baseball exclusive content or really in-depth thoughts on baseball, go get subscribed to Musso at the Box. All right. Smash the like, get subscribed to the podcast if you have not already, and we will go ahead and get started. Of course, follow me on social media as well, Twitter X, Musso Matthew, Facebook, Matthew Musso, and Matt Musso. I'm on Instagram as well. Find me wherever you please. All right. We'll start with spring practice. LSU wrapped up practice number 8 on Saturday. So 15 practices, you've hit 8, you're past the halfway point, and it's been telling. But it hasn't been so telling that it's like, okay, this is what you have to have. This is where you are. You're going forth with these guys. And spring practice shouldn't be that way, right? We all understand that. There's going to be position battles here that rage on through the summer and through fall camp until you're ready to go kick off the season against Clemson. But there have been some things that are quite noticeable. And what was interesting on Saturday is LSU really, as you hit the halfway point, started moving the newcomers in and out with the first and second teams. It was much more equitable, if you will, right? I mean, before that, you had really seen Braylon Moore kind of run with at center, run with the second team, but get a few reps with the first team. He and DJ Chester rotated in and out a good bit on Saturday. And when Moore rotated in with the first team, Chester kicked down to right guard, and Cohen Eccles went to the bench. So your first team offensive line was Tyree Adams, Paul Mubenga, DJ Chester, Cohen Eccles, Weston Davis. And as we said, when Moore rotated in, Chester went to right guard, and Eccles went to the bench. The second team O-line, left to right, Carius Kern, Ori Williams, Braylon Moore, Bo Bordelon, and then the interesting thing is Josh Thompson. Of course, the transfer lineman, I should say, from Northwestern was out there in pads, ready to go, full participant in spring practice for the first time. And they had him at tackle. And I've long said when they figure out where he plays is when the rest of this offensive line comes together. Just because of all the position battles that you have, all the guys fighting for time on that offensive line, whether it's veterans or young guys, when you figure out if you're going to play Thompson at guard or tackle, the rest can really fall into place. Now, it's important to note, just him playing right tackle on Saturday doesn't mean that's where he's going to be. They're going to cross-train him at both guard and tackle. But it's interesting that the first place they put him is at tackle. I do think that's noteworthy, right? Just put a star next to it in your notebook, and maybe you come back to it later in the summer, fall, or even in the season and go, there he was right there on day number 1. And for what it's worth, it was some pretty exclusive work for Thompson there at right tackle, mostly coming with the second team. The overarching kind of theme that you've seen come out of Saturday's practice from spring is that the defense really held the upper hand when you look at it in totality. And I don't know about all y'all, that's incredibly encouraging to me because defense has been your weak point the last 2 seasons, and mainly because of a talent deficiency. Well, you seem to have certainly fixed that, and it's showing dividends and showing returns already on the field in spring. That's encouraging. LSU's offense is plenty talented enough, and I would expect the defense to be ahead of LSU's offense in the spring, especially given the fact that you're replacing 4 guys on the front of your offensive line. Like, there's going to be some growing pains there. But what's really encouraging is that the defense, kind of excels there, specifically down in the red zone on Saturday from all accounts, and that's a positive for me. Would you like to see the offense be a little better there? Sure, because you struggled there a season ago. But it's not to say that the offense didn't have their moments. Chris Hilton, Trey'Dez Green, both made just incredible catches. Harlem Berry had a long touchdown run. And Garrett Nussmeier, the decision-making is really standing out so far in spring camp. And that is the most encouraging thing for me about the offense as a whole. You know what? Yeah, they had a rough day in the red zone. Okay, fine. The defense won the day. Okay, fine. How was Garrett's decision-making? Well, Garrett's decision-making was really good. Check. Because he's got the weapons to throw to on the outside. You like what he has in the backfield. You get that offensive line shored up, and you have a chance to have a great unit. But all of that contributes to the success of Garrett Nussmeier, but the success of Garrett Nussmeier and this LSU football team hinges on his decision-making. And so far through spring, it's been awesome. He's more comfortable in the pocket. He's even taking off running the football here and there. And every time he does, it draws a reaction from the media in attendance. Every time. In short, Nussmeier is taking the necessary steps in spring to take the big step that everyone's expecting from him in the fall. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean it's foolproof that this is it. He's going to be the next Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, win a Heisman, lead LSU to a playoff or a national championship. No, doesn't mean any of that. What it means, though, is he's on track for a great senior season. And ultimately, that's what you want. Because if Nuss turns that in, this LSU team can reach heights that many expect it to. And that's very, very encouraging up to this point. A couple guys to really focus in on defensively. And I'm going to start with Mansour Delane. And this is somebody that obviously you've heard plenty of people talk about before. But if you haven't seen it, LSU Football, the official Twitter account, I'm sure all those social media accounts, posted a 2-minute video compilation of him at practice. He was mic'd up. And I think when everybody, sees the mic'd up stuff, they obviously want to click on it. You want to hear him, right? Yeah. How energetic is he? Is he vocal out there or whatnot? That's not what really stood out from Delane. What stood out in that video is the physicality. Whether it's against the tackling dummies or in the 11-on-11 going against his teammates. That kid can get guys to the ground. There was one play in there, it was a little stretch, run to his side, and he fights through a block and gets the ball carrier down. That's incredible physicality from a cornerback position that you want to see, and I love seeing that from Mansour Delane. He looks like the Corey Raymond defensive back. Big, long, physical. How many guys have you seen come through LSU under Corey Raymond with that mold, that build? Delane looks like the next one there. So that's incredibly, incredibly encouraging. And the physicality just jumps off the page for you from number 4 on the defensive side. The other big thing to note from practice on Saturday was that Tamarcus Cooley was absent and Joel Rogers subbed into his spot first team a lot of the time. That's of note just because, that's a guy, they like Rogers a lot, but he always got just passed down in the safety rotation. When you talked about it a year ago, he wasn't quite ready, right? It was always maybe Deshaun Spears or Javian Toviano. You saw those guys get plenty of run throughout the season, and now Rogers jumps up, into that rotation and gets plenty of time with the first team on Saturday. Of note, you also saw Toviano and Spears rotate in there. Spears made a couple nice plays defensively as well, tackling, which is great. Brian Kelly has actually lauded the tackling of his safeties throughout spring camp so far. And Spears is an interesting guy because that's someone everyone's expecting to take a jump this season for LSU. Like, look, you went out there and you got a guy like Tamarcus Cooley to immediately come in and start for you at safety because you needed it. Jordan Gilbert's getting healthy. He had surgery on his shoulder. If he's healthy, how much does his game improve? You could have those two as your starters. But who's the next one off the bench? It could be Deshaun Spears. It could be, Toviano. It could be Rogers. But when you look at Spears, it's a guy who was the number 3 safety in America coming out of high school, heading into in the class of 2024. He could give you such a needed boost as well, and just more depth and quality depth if what you're seeing in spring does blossom into a big step forward for him in the fall. Just some things to file away as LSU has wrapped up spring practice number 8 of 15. Here, they did that on Saturday. In other LSU football news, switch gears here a little bit. Tigers pull in yet another commitment and from another wide receiver. LSU on Saturday learned that 4-star wideout Jabari Mack out of Destrehan committed to Brian Kelly and the Tigers. He did that via his social media on Saturday evening. Number 1 ranked wide receiver in Louisiana. A top 10 wide receiver in America. And LSU earned the pledge over Texas, Ohio State, A&M, all the who's who, as you would expect from the number 1 wide receiver in Louisiana. Look, it has been a pipeline from Destrehan to LSU. You love that. You just got Phillip Wright, a wide receiver out of Destrehan in the last cycle, and now you add Jabari Mack here early in this one. So it's a huge get. It's LSU's 4th wide receiver commitment of the cycle, of course, joining Tristan Keys, Kenny Darby, and Ja'Kai Anderson, which, that's one hell of a class. Every single one of those guys is a 4-star or higher. Of course, Tristan Keys, the number 1 wide receiver in the country, 5-star guy out of Hattiesburg. So already LSU has put together quite the receiving core class. I should say the receiving class, and man, that's huge on Coach Hankton. Obviously, Joe Sloan and even Frank Wilson, of course, given the New Orleans area down there. So, for what it's worth, Jabari Mack spoke to On3, said this of Coach Cortez Hankton, quote, "He develops receivers. LSU is easy for me to get to, and I like the environment up there. It feels crazy on game day. My family would get the chance to see me play, and I'd be with guys I already have a brotherhood with," end quote. So, he also noted that Coach Hank keeps it real with them as well, and the staff as a whole. So here's a lot from the coaches. Great addition for LSU. And again, as we said, 2nd top 10 receiver commit to the program in a week after they added Tristan Keys middle of last week, the number 1 ranked receiver in the country. So they're building it, y'all. They are absolutely building it. For what it's worth, the measurables, and then we can kind of wrap up on Jabari Mack. 6 foot, 200-pound wideout, number 5 player in the state overall, number 1 wide receiver in the state, and top 10 in the country, top 100 player. So huge get in Jabari Mack, and one that you would expect to be able to keep in the boat. Look, you look at a guy like Tristan Keys, and he's going to continue to get recruited, and he should. He's the number 1 receiver in the country. In fact, he was at Ole Miss this past weekend. But no change in the commitment. Seems really locked into LSU. You'll just have to fight that one tooth and nail to the end. NIL will come into play, all of those things. But when you look at your other three in this class, you look at Jabari Mack, you look at Kenny Darby, you look at Ja'Kai Anderson, and those are all Louisiana guys. And you feel real good about keeping those in the boat. So they're building the next great class of wide receivers over at LSU. Jabari Mack, the latest to pledge to the Tigers. All right, and last but not least, for football, Brian Kelly addresses the John Emery situation Saturday after practice. Of course, John Emery on Friday, I believe it was, or Thursday. It was Thursday. John Emery on Thursday announces on his social media and through his representation that he is returning to college football for a 7th season. Everyone, of course, speculating, would that be at LSU? Brian Kelly on Saturday saying it will not be, that they will support John Emery in every way that they can, but they are set at running back, and it makes a lot of sense. You have Caden Durham going into year 2, looking to be that guy, that veteran presence. You bring in Harlem Berry, a 5-star freshman who's turning heads already in spring practice, and Brian Kelly has raved about his understanding of the running back position already at such a young age. You'll have JT Lindsey coming in. Trey Holly Trey Holly's court case is supposed to be finished and adjudicated in July, so you could potentially get him back. That gives you 4. There's just not a lot of opportunity to go around for a guy like John Emery. So, look, same on my end. I wish him all the best and hope he has a great final season in college football, but it will not be at LSU. And when you look at the structure and how things have been built on this roster and this team, that is the right decision. All right, before we get out of here, a quick thought on LSU's series loss at Texas. Again, like I said, if you want my full thoughts, Musso at the Box, and go get subscribed up there and listen. I mean, I did 30 minutes on the series as a whole. There's also immediate reactions from each game, so there's plenty of full thoughts there for you. To wrap it all up succinctly here in about 5-6 minutes, LSU didn't throw enough strikes, and that's both frustrating, but also not incredibly surprising. Until LSU gets consistent strikes out of the bullpen from someone other than Kason Evans and Zach Cowan, it is going to be a struggle in games 2 and 3. It just is. The whole of that series changed in the bottom of the 5th inning on Saturday. LSU was in complete control of that weekend until the bottom of the 5th on Saturday. You were dominant on Friday, 8-2, behind 6 innings from Cade Anderson and 3 innings from Zach Cowan. And yes, I'm not going to fault Jay Johnson for using Zach Cowan the way he did. He played to win. He knew he had to at least get one, and he saw an opportunity to get the first one, and he went out and got it and left himself a chance with everyone else available, including Kason Evans, to win one game over the next 2, and they couldn't get it done. He played to win on Friday. I'm never going to fault the coach for playing to win on Friday, and they got that win. And ultimately, they're 4-2, pacing for 20-10, with plenty to improve. And the plenty to improve is the strikes out of the bullpen. Plain and simple, LSU needs more from Connor Ware. They need more from William Schmidt. They need more from Binge. They need more from Primo. They need more from everybody. Not named Kason Evans and Zach Cowan. I thought Anthony Ianson was lifted too early in that 5th inning as well. Ianson pitched really well for you on Saturday. He did. He had the 2-run 4th. Nothing in that inning was hit hard. Not one damn ball. And 2 runs scored. Texas wasn't seeing him great. You know, you give up the leadoff base runner in the bottom of the 5th. You come back, get an out. Then you give up the single. You have 1st and 3rd, 1 out. Through 4 1/3, a 3-run lead. And he's at 78 pitches, and they lift him. And I can't get on board with that. He needed a ground ball, and he's out of that inning. Anthony Ianson, the one thing that we've said about him, besides the fact that he throws strikes, is he gets stronger as the game goes along. And they have not allowed him to do that in conference play. And yes, I'm saying they have not allowed him to do that. They have had a quick hook on him, and I, for the life of me, can't really figure out why. Because if there was ever a game to have a quick hook on him, it was against Nebraska in Frisco when he gave up 5 through 3 innings in front of 11,000 people, and everything could go horribly wrong around him. And they didn't. They let him finish, and he got stronger as the game went on and got you through 6, because that's what he's been able to do all season long. And it's time to let him do that in conference play. And I really wish they would have on Saturday in the 5th inning. Now, they didn't. So what you needed was strikes from Ware, strikes from Schmidt, and you didn't get either of those things. And the balance of that series tipped when Texas put up the 4 in the 4th inning. Ware comes in and walks the first guy he faces on 5 pitches. Schmidt comes in. He doesn't have a feel for the breaking ball. It is just heater, and it got smashed. And it felt like he was behind 3-1 to just about every hitter that he faced, having to throw that heater over the plate. And I don't care that it's 96, 97. It's going to get hit. Texas is a good, deep, veteran lineup, and they showed that. Connor Benj, DJ Primo later in that game, they threw strikes. Unfortunately, they got hit. But you know what? I'll take that. I'm happier with that than if you put guys on for free or you're just constantly behind in the count. The disappointing part is you were in complete control for the first half of that series, and then it got away from you. And it got away from you because of your inability to throw strikes consistently out of the bullpen, which has been something that we have talked about for weeks. Going back to the pre-conference. Because as I have said plenty of times, the competition across it really doesn't have that much bearing on your ability to throw the ball over the plate. The environment, all that, sure. But we've seen LSU succeed in tough environments and wild environments already. It didn't happen on Saturday, and it started in the 4th inning. And here's the thing. This is the other reason why I don't care. And I'm not going to sit here and crush Jay Johnson for the Zach Cowan deal. You had everyone else available. Depth is your strength of this staff. Your other guys have to execute. You still had Case and Evans. If just one, say it plays out the exact same way, you yank Ianson, you bring in Ware Schmidt. If just one of them execute strikes, and you're playing the hypothetical game, and they get out of that inning, maybe allowing just one of the inherited runs to score, and then LSU puts up the 2 again, you have a multi-run lead. You need to steal basically one more inning, and then you can turn it over to Case and Evans, and you feel pretty damn good about that, him getting you the last 9 outs in that game, and you steal that series on the road. But the execution lacked from others. You win as a team, you lose as a team. It's not because one guy pitched on Friday. You had plenty of guys left, and execution lacked, and that's the bottom line. And that has to get better going forward. And I think that it will. Because it has the last 2 seasons for LSU out of the bullpen. You got a long way to go. You're 4-2. Everything is still in front of you. You have a winnable series against Mississippi State coming up at home this weekend. You play ULL on Tuesday. LSU has a chance to have a really good week. But you need to get a lot of guys work on Tuesday night and then get them back out on the mound again this weekend and keep improving. 8 series left. They all count the same. It's about keeping pace and making sure the postseason goes through the box, and that has been far from decided so far. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Smash the like button, get subscribed on your favorite podcast app. It's greatly appreciated. Follow me on social media and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.